You have got to understand that we are in a time where if you could only help yourself and understand once and for all that tapping out is off the table. If you could simply go to that room of I wish this and I wish that and I want to go home and why isn't Jesus coming? If you could simply go to that room and shut and nail the door closed, you would receive the benefit of knowing that that door is forever shut, which means that you now have to live in the remaining rooms of the house called, how do I deal with what I'm feeling? How do I deal with the feelings of instability? How do I deal with the feelings of being overwhelmed? How do I deal with the feelings of insecurity? How do I deal with my fear? How do I deal with my constantly racing thoughts? I'm here to let you know that you are going to have to confront yourself this year, unless guess who's going to be the biggest enemy in your life? It's not the government, it's not the stabbers in the subway, it is not the people waiting to rape women at the train station. It's you. You are going to derail you. You are going to mess up 2025 for you because you failed for the last couple of years that you've been coming here to truly absorb the information that has been coming through that is supposed to make you robust. Now that the prophecies are starting to come true, I'm seeing a disparity between people. There are people who are saying, when I saw this and that on TV, I knew that you had told us about it. I understood that God had spoken about this, and at least for some strange reason, I felt calm. That means that you are not among the millions of Americans who are clutching their pearls and asking, what's going on? Is it the end of the world? Those people have no information because they decline to receive information from any source that isn't CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or News Nation. They rely on the government to keep them informed. They rely on the party line. They rely on whoever their political icon is to speak into their lives. And so that is what is going into them as fuel. That's all that's sustaining them, which means when the time comes for their sources of fuel to break down, they, along with those sources of fuel, will have a breakdown. But people who have been forewarned by God have had the time to understand that these things must come because the word of God has now come into its own. It has now come to the time where it's going to start fulfilling itself faster and faster and faster. It will no longer just be prophecies of flood, tsunami, and sinkholes. We are going to be seeing the events on TV with frequency in different locations because that is what will create the pressure in the hallway, pressure on the nation's resources when more and more people are subject to flooding, are subject to fire, are subject to mass transit, mass movement, mass evacuation, that kind of thing. Having to just run with a few blankets, your passport, some money, and your dog. And then you come back to the house hoping against hope and the entire house is burnt down. That avenue of life is now over. That time period of life for those people in California is now over. Those people have now entered the hallway of pressure ahead of those who are still sitting in their homes, unaware that but for a single natural disaster striking in their nation, striking in their region, their town, they too could enter the hallway. Any one of us can enter the hallway at any time. So then the prayer life is demanded that you pray for resilience, that if you do end up against all odds in the hallway, that you take into the hallway with you what you needed. If you pray and the prayers keep you out of the hallway, then more power to you. It means that 2025, the wheels have not fallen off for you. But because we're right at the beginning of the year and no one actually knows how this thing is going to go, this is not a year to start melting and saying that the solution you want is to be raptured. The solution you want is to cry and go home. That thing is not an acceptable behavior for an adult.